Hi everybody, Chris and Tanya here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. We are headed to a job / estimate. It's 16 bags of clothing, so we're hoping that they understand that we do charge for removal. She knows we charge, because I told her we come give her a price, and if she's happy with it, we'll take it. But sometimes people aren't prepared for junk removal prices, even if it is a little bit of stuff for donation, because they assume it's either free or super cheap and they're just paying us for our labor. But for junk removal, of course, there's more to it than that. So it's on the 5th floor of a condo building, and I know the building, so there's an elevator, of course, and the parking isn't too bad because we just have the truck with us, no trailer today. But typically, you know, that would be something that we would charge by volume, and then probably an additional 15 minutes of labor time-wise. So if you're looking at, I'm kind of looking at like 1/8 of a truck to maybe 1/4, so 3 to 4 yards, plus the labor charge. That might be something that they're not really willing to do, and we'll kind of have to see what their budget is. If it's just more of a can you do 20-30 bucks cheaper, then I'll just knock off the labor charge and we'll just grab it as is, because it is all donation, and it's clothing donation, which is super easy. We just go to those clothing bins and drop them off, and we can do that pretty much anywhere, anytime. And then after this job, we're going to be stopping by an auctioneer to drop off a bunch of trains and model cars that we got a couple weeks ago on one of the cleanouts that we did. It's a lot of trains. It's probably like 30 boxes, enough to fill like half of my truck bed of just boxes of old model trains and the little like structure pieces, old cars and things like that. So they said that those can typically sell pretty well. Worst case, if it doesn't sell, then we'll get it donated. But, you know, try to make the money first, keep the profits high. And then after that, we're gonna be doing some marketing to apartment buildings, which we probably won't record, but we'll just talk about afterwards what it is that we try to say and who we try to talk to. So stay tuned for that tip. So this is our new cart to replace speed packs, because they get wet and then they're ruined, and they're 20 bucks a piece. It's a little smaller, but it does hold up to like 300 pounds, and we don't have to worry about it getting wet anymore. And they got blue to match the business. So we got it on Amazon. It's like 100 bucks. I'll throw a link in the description if you want to get one for yourself, and you can change up the colors. But so far so good. The only thing I'll probably do is change the wheels to rubber. These are more plastic. And there's only 2 swivel, 2 straight, and I'll probably get all 4 swivel, because sometimes it's annoying to try to get through a tight corner with only 2 swivel wheels. But as you can see, we did get that estimate, quoted 1/4 of a truck, and we waived the labor fee. So start loading this up, go drop off the clothing, and make our way to the auctioneer. So I didn't notice it the first time I walked in, but after we went to go leave, when I stepped on the tile, you could hear like the cracking noise, like it's not set well underneath, and sometimes it just happens with older tiles, I believe. I had it in my old apartment. So we're not bringing the cart in with us anymore. They said don't worry about it, they're replacing the floors anyways, but I don't want to be the reason that they say, oh, let's get some extra money out of it, say, hey, you broke this, and then put that towards a new flooring anyways. So even though people say don't worry about it, this and that, worry about it. Tanya's up there talking to them. I'm just gonna run this down and grab some business cards. They said we're gonna come back to get the furniture later on. So definitely wasn't a stickler about price. They tipped us like 250 bucks for 30 minutes of work. I'll take it. But he was saying they have 2 businesses in the Bahamas, engineering, and then they have a coffee shop. And I was like, Jesus, running one business is stressful. I can't imagine 2. But really nice people. The We'll be getting our thank you card. Got about half in the YMCA one. This is why we use these bags when we do donation clothing, because the black bags don't fit in these things. So, because they're all huge, we're having to empty out at least half into these to get them to fit in there. All right, we got pretty much all the clothes donated at the YMCA, which we're a member at, if anyone ever comes out and says, hey, what are you doing here? Even though it's a public thing to use, but just in case. And then this guy here is in a large plaza. There's actually 4 of them in this plaza. So when the 1 or 2 get full, I just bounce around and move on. I know where pretty much all these are in my general area. There's 17 total that I know of around us. As farthest one's like maybe 10 minutes away. So I know they're probably not the best source to drop off clothes to, but they are available 24/7. I don't have to worry about someone and be like, no, we're full. I mean, if this is full, I'll just carry on. But it's more of a convenience kind of thing versus just going straight to the trash. So that's why we use them. Otherwise, we'll usually bring stuff to a lady that we donate stuff to who works in the ministry. But she's out of town right now, so sometimes you gotta improvise. As far as marketing goes, we are gonna be going to a couple of local apartment buildings. We haven't really gone to a lot of them in a while, but we're trying to at least just tackle them like in groups, kind of here and there around us. I find it easier to market to places when we're there. So for example, we did a job for a guy a couple weeks ago who had a storage unit, and then the second time we went to his condo, and it was a newer building I haven't been to yet. And once we realized parking's not bad here, they have a whole area dedicated to us, and the overall facility's pretty nice, elevators are pretty decent. I was like, hey, let's go in there because we're a little bit early, talk to the management and introduce ourselves. So we did exactly that, and then Tani went back the next day after her networking meeting and dropped off some brochures that just kind of have like a rough guideline of like our pricing. And it's specifically for senior living facilities, storage units, and apartment buildings. So we haven't had anything come up for that place yet, and sometimes that's how that works. You don't always get into a building shortly after marketing to it. Sometimes it might come months down the road, and it's unlikely you're probably going to be going there consistently unless you can get locked in as a vendor and they just happen to really need your services. It's usually more of just that you market to 20 places and you hope 1 or 2 of them give you a call once in a while, and the cost makes up for the fact that you spent your time 6 months ago marketing to them, and then just try to revisit them every so often to keep your name fresh in their minds, and maybe bring by a gift basket of goodies or something, or drop off coffee to management. So when we go to apartment buildings, we are usually asking for the property manager or the maintenance manager to say, hey, if you guys aren't already working with a junk removal company, here are the type of situations that we are usually called for, which either involve the residents themselves need bulk pickup. They might need bulk pickup if they have excess down by their dumpsters, especially if the residents are dumping stuff when they're not supposed to, because then the city won't pick it up and they'll charge a lot more to get rid of it than if the facility had junk removal come and do it. Another reason could be if the facility themselves have an eviction, or if a tenant just disappears and the unit just needs to be vacated. Another reason could be if they have illegal dumping somewhere else on their property that aren't nearby the dumpsters. So we'll mention this to property management or the maintenance director and say, you know, these are the situations where this may arise. I'm sure you are more familiar with it than we are. If you don't already work with somebody, could we leave you with our information? You know, we love to come back and chat a little bit more. We can drop off a COI and a W-9 if necessary. I like just saying a COI just because I'm already letting you know I'm insured and I'm here to show you proof of it, versus them having to ask later on, could you provide me a COI? So I don't know if it really helps, but it's something I do just to kind of beat them to the question. Do you have anything to share as a former property manager?
I mean, realistically, going in any business, going in looking to work with a property, 3 things I would pay attention to just before going in is the size of the building, if it's just like one building or if it's multiple buildings, if they have easily accessible dumpsters and what their dumpster area looks like. And then I would try to do some homework before going in to see if it's self-managed. So say it's like a small mom and pop where it's just like one property manager managing the property and they're either on-site or off-site, or if it's third-party managed. So like a bigger company like Bazzuto, Greystar, companies like that are all over the country, because how you're going to approach them is a little bit different. Whether you're going to just kind of talk about giving information for move-in packets, move-out packets, things to your residents, whether you're going to ask if you can do bids on larger scale jobs for the property, or reoccurring monthly contracts if they have that need, or if you're willing to put in a bid for future work, you could do that too. So kind of looking at those three things will help really set your pace for how you're going to enter the property and market to each one. But pretty much what you said.
And that's spoken from 10 years of property management and buildings that have a lot of residents. What was your biggest property?
387 units.
Now just imagine if every single person needed us just one time a year. We wouldn't even have to work anymore.
So one job a day.
One job a day. So something else we haven't really implemented, because I kind of want contracts for it. I know it's probably not a huge deal, but it's just something that I think it would be best if when you have a team, just in case you get busy or you go out of town, but that's reoccurring pickups. So having a facility that, you know, they could say, my God, we see this all the time. People are always leaving stuff behind. Like, we put cameras up, signs up, it just doesn't end. We can't catch everybody. And, you know, so I think some buildings are probably just a little bit more enticed to dump. Maybe, like, probably the stricter they are, the more likely they are to do it, maybe. But if they just constantly have those problems and they don't want to have to wait to call us every time, maybe you could set up something where every Thursday or every other Thursday, or like the first Thursday of every month, or, you know, whatever. Once a month or once a week or bi-weekly, you stop by this place and you just look around the dumpster and just grab whatever's there that's outside of the dumpster. If it's small and it can fit in the dumpster, great. If not, you take it away. And then you just like set a flat rate fee per a month or per pickup. And if you like, you can give like a range, say, hey, well, if our normal price for a full load is, let's say, 600, we'll charge you guys 500 for the month, and we'll come by twice to look at it. But if we exceed that full truck price, then we're gonna tack in a surcharge, or we're gonna charge normally. But we give you at least up to one full load at a discounted rate. So even if it's only a half or 3/4, they're still paying you that 500 mark. We never really sat down and discussed pricing between me and Tanya of how we would set it up, but it is something that we thought about. So I think once you go to a building and you establish that relationship with the manager, and you've been there maybe once or twice, maybe pull them aside and say, hey, if you guys face this problem, you know, we could set up a reoccurring basis. You know, we can discuss pricing, because I'm sure corporate's gonna have to get involved for setting up a structure like that. But just let them know, you know, that's something that you could offer, whether it's once a month, even just once a quarter. I used to go to, I haven't been there since. I went there 3 or 4 times, I think. It was in Palm Island, which is a really high-end strip in Florida where all the billionaires and millionaires have their houses. We go there for a couple of repeats. But there was this one condo building, and they constantly had overflow, but they would keep it down in their parking garage, which my trailer just barely fit in by like inches. The maintenance guy would have to walk me back as I back up. I went there every quarter and basically picked up this abundance of junk that they would store in their storage room until it got full. And then they'd call me by, and I just pretty much did one full load every time. And I kind of just always kept the price around the same, whether it went just a little bit over or if it's just a smidge bit under. I just kind of kept it repetitive so they kind of knew what to expect. Obviously, if it was like 3/4 of a truck, I would charge accordingly. But for the most part, it was always like add a load or just a tad bit over. And I just always kept it the same, just to, you know, keep them in the loop. I think only one time I charged more because it was more debris than trash. But that was something that, like, we were all on the first name basis and we had a thing going, and then they stopped. So they might have changed management, I don't know. They did call me back for something different at like a storage property, but.
Have you reached out to them?
No, I could try sending them an email, but I don't even know if I have her card. I'd have to go through the invoices and find it. I remember her name. So that's something you could always try offering. Just throw it out there and see what they say. Worst case, they say no, but maybe it comes up in the future.
That brings up a good point, though. What's always not hard, but something to keep in mind with apartment complexes is that you're going to need to routinely stay in check with them, especially if there's not like a contract in place. If you, I mean, they're getting like marketing from hundreds of companies at a time to try to get their business. So if you really want to kind of stay consistent, that's going to really make the big difference between you and whoever else is going there. So it's good to have like a schedule, a plan, something you can check off, whether that's monthly, checking in, kind of making sure that you are, even if it's an email, sending one in a blue, you stay up to date with who's managing the company. There's a lot of turnover in rental properties, so it's important to kind of look at that too.
We know at least 6 managers or 6 executive directors, and I'd say once a quarter, at least 2 of them change properties. Because I'll reach out and say, hey, how's it going at so-and-so? And they're like, actually, I moved to a different property. I was like, oh, why'd you do that? And they're like, they just move you. People, like, they just say, hey, there's a position open here. Do you want to come here? It's a couple grand more or whatever. And they just move. They bounce around a lot. So, like, there's facilities where, like, we're on a first name basis. I have the cell phone number, personal cell phone of, like, some of the directors. And they'll call us in every now and then. Maybe I don't hear from them for a couple of months, or we haven't been to that facility in a couple of months. We'll stop by and be like, hey, just, you know, checking in, want to drop off some more cards, drop off this basket of whatever, goodies or bagels or coffee or something. You know, is so-and-so here? And they're like, he actually doesn't work here anymore. He moved to a different property a month ago or a couple of months ago. I was like, maybe that's why we haven't been to this property in a while. You know, and in the new transition, maybe that building already has somebody set up, so that manager isn't likely to reach out to us unless they personally need something. But we've had that happen at least twice, and it kind of just reminds you to keep in touch with these buildings, not just the manager, but the buildings themselves. So something else that I've started doing over time, at least at 2 of the facilities, is we will try to build rapport with not just the executive director, but maybe like the sales manager or the, what's Roseanne's position? Business office manager?
Yeah.
She's like an office manager. She just does like the admin work, and like we're on a first name basis with her. In fact, we even did a job for her at her condo. So just trying to know a couple of the different names. Like we know the maintenance director, I have his number as well. So just in case maybe the executive director leaves or the sales manager leaves, you still have a contact at that facility that you could always reach out to as well. Or at least name drop when you go to the front desk. Maybe the person there is new, or maybe they don't know us because they usually work a different shift. And we just pop in and be like, hey, we're Clutter Reduction, we're here all the time. They don't know who we are, they don't care. But if we say, you know, is Matt here? Is Andrew here? Is Sarah here? And they're like, do you know them? Like, yeah, we work with them all the time. We just wanted to drop off some cards to them. You know, I think dropping a name, you maybe have a little bit more credibility to you. Like if I went to Tanya's old property and talked to one of the people at the front desk and said, hey, is Tanya in today? The fact that I can name drop a manager and I'm just a random vendor, I think would give a little bit more credibility versus just saying like, is your property manager here today?
Exactly.
Haven't had to make that request in a long time. But that's pretty much it. So we're gonna run to the auction. We have to load up an entire truck bed full of boxes before it rains. It's supposed to be partly cloudy until 2 o'clock. I'm hoping it stays that way. And we'll see what happens. We've dropped off some pretty like interesting, unique items, like high-end antiques, and we've had pretty good payouts. So just trying to keep the profits. We donate a lot, but like the nicer or like the really unique stuff, we sell if we have the time and the space, which is why we like auctions, because we can just go drop it off.
Yeah.
And then we barter with a guy there with Legos because we bother him a lot with photos. And I'm like, hey, is this artwork anything? And he's like, no. And I'll send him 20 photos and he's like, no, maybe, no. So we give him Legos for free because he deals with RBS a lot. So we will see you guys next time. Bye.